Mark Schaefer commented on my recent episode about influencers. You are rolling old tapes here, Chris. You're viewing the world from a very narrow B2B tech perspective. Here's the fact. Influencers sell stuff, a lot of stuff. For many companies, this is the most cost-effective sales and marketing efforts they have ever seen. The case studies are powerful and compelling. The techniques are becoming increasingly sophisticated, as is measurement. Influencers can move markets. Are you accurately seeing what's happening out there? Some of the influencers who sell stuff, and a lot of it, are folks like Gary Vaynerchuk. He's got his own sneaker line, as an example, and a very successful sneaker line. And Gary's a great example of the sophistication that Mark mentions, creating content on literally every channel possible by syndicating content across those channels and branching out with new programs all the time. Gary's latest venture is called First in Line, where if you sign up to agree to get text messages from one of his automation systems, you can get notified of special deals in advance. And for someone like that, absolutely, as an influencer, that Gary is the top of the game. And for that top-tier method of content creation and influence, there's a sizable cost on his side. On a recent episode of Ask Gary V, he's saying he's spending somewhere around $10,000 per day on advertising, and he's got a team of literally 17 people who help him produce his content. Now, he's still getting positive ROI on that. So clearly, he's a good example of one of those very, very powerful influencers who can just sell pretty much anything. I would disagree with Mark on measurement, at least on the brand side. It's improving a little, but not really. As recently as 2 months ago, when I was working agency side, measurement of influencers was still disconnected from business results. Even in some of the programs I'm part of now, measurement isn't standardized. It's not connected to business results in some way beyond the traditional measures we've always talked about. And a part of that is because influencers themselves are not necessarily always technologically savvy people who can implement things like tracking tags and stuff. I am working with a couple of folks who recently asked for things like access to my Facebook pixel and for a collaborative tagging effort with Google Tag Manager, which was very smart, and that gives me hope that companies will eventually start to look at connecting influencers to those business results, those business impacts. But it requires the company, the brand, to have its own analytics in order to do that. What Mark's comment got me thinking about, though, was we have 3 archetypes traditionally for influencer management, right? For influencer identification. We have, if you think about a network graph of all the ways people are connected, there's the expert, where all these connections are coming into this node. Everyone's talking about that person. They are the authority. We see sort of the connector, that node where they're the bridge. They connect lots of different people in the network. And then there's the broadcaster, the person who's loud, who can just get stuff out to a lot of people. And for brands who are seeking influencers and looking to identify influencers, these measures, these archetypes, still make a lot of sense, because the brand's goals are reach, engagement, and meaningful action. To Mark's point, they got to sell stuff. But there might be a 4th archetype. There might be one that the current algorithms in their current deployment in production out in the field may not necessarily take into account. So, for example, the expert algorithm, the expertise, the authority, the one that determines how authoritative you are, is called eigenvector centrality. And this, as I said, mentions an influencer's authority based on who talks about them. When we're looking for that shine, that luster, that brand halo that we want to acquire, eigenvector centrality is the algorithm that we would want to use. The connectivity, whether that influencer bridges gaps, that's an algorithm called betweenness centrality. And it's important because the more bridging that influencer does, the more connecting other nodes, the more dense they make the network. If you're at a conference, that's the person who is just helping everybody get connected to everybody else. And those people are really important for creating business, creating new influencers, connecting disparate influencers, smaller micro-influencers together, and helping a brand glue together its audience. And then the broadcast capability comes from an algorithm called closeness centrality, and that is how few degrees separate an influencer from their audience. So in the case of an authority, they may say something and everyone may share it and then reshare it and reshare it and stuff, the so-called viral effect. But if you want to sell stuff, you need to have that close 1 degree of connection between you and your audience to say, hey guys, go out and get this thing. Hey, go and pick up the latest K-Swiss sneaker from Gary, etc. And you need that narrow, tight interaction, and closeness centrality measures that. So Mark's question, do these algorithms accurately see what's happening out there? And by extension, people like me who use them. It's an important question. The blind spot in all of these algorithms is that we can't currently solve with any algorithm is that business impact, that meaningful impact. All our companies, all our brands, all our agencies want to answer that question. Who's going to actually help me sell stuff? But we can't solve for that because we don't have access to the data. Right? From the outside, before we sign on the dotted line with an influencer, we can't see who's driving those business results. We can't see who's helping a company make money. We can see those individual measures, right? The authority, connectivity, or broadcast capability. But until we have tracking codes and tags and stuff in place after we sign the deal, we can't see the impact of that influencer on the business. So maybe the answer to this lies in a combination of these different algorithms. If you think about it, each algorithm judges a separate behavior, right? Closeness, betweenness, authority. What would an influencer be capable of if they did all three, right? What if they were the respected leader of their tribe, but they were also the connector within their tribe? They make their tribe ever denser and denser, and they were so responsive to their tribe and so engaged with them that everyone was literally 1 degree away from that super influencer. That fourth archetype, that super influencer, should logically be able to compel very strong business results as well, perhaps better than influencers who ranked well in one way or another. Think about, again, going back to Gary Vaynerchuk. He's got people talking about him. He is also connecting lots and lots of different pieces of his network. If you watch his show or listen to his podcast, he's always connecting musicians to his audience and so on and so forth. So he's making that network denser. And he and his team are very, very responsive. If you tweet at him or whatever, you will probably get some kind of response. And so that fourth archetype may be the blend of all three algorithms to identify who's really got a loyal nation, in a way, that follows them, that will then do whatever the head of that nation says to do. I think it's worth experimenting with it. I think there's a there. We just have to adapt the algorithms and the technology to go that next step. And I think that's worth doing. So I know I'm going to go do it and try it out to see if there's a scalable way to programmatically do that. And I would encourage you to as well. Thanks, Mark, as always, for the great feedback, because this is a really compelling thought experiment, and that we can turn into production technology. As always, if you have questions, please put them in the link below, and subscribe to the YouTube channel and the newsletter, and I will talk to you soon. Take care, everyone.